He saw her through the rain-streaked window of the dressmaker's shop on Harrow Street. Cecily Blackwood, standing rigid as a dagger, watching her mother hand a gold-embroidered ball gown across the counter for coins. The gown Cecily had sewn herself, stitch by stitch, over 11 weeks. The gown meant for the Thornfield Ball tomorrow night. The only invitation she had received in 3 seasons, and the last chance to secure a position as music instructor before the conservatory's board made its decision. Lord Aldrich Vane had not seen her in 6 years, not since the night at the Bath Assembly Rooms, when she had been a young woman of 25 and he had been, as he always was, something older than he appeared. She had laughed at his accent that evening, called it suspiciously continental for a man who claims Devonshire. He had remembered the shape of that laughter for 6 years, carrying it like a stone in his coat pocket. Now he stood in the November dark, watching her lose everything through glass. Inside the shop, Cecily's fingers curled at her sides. The coins clinked into her mother's palm. 4 sovereigns in change for a gown worth 20. "You had no right," Cecily said. Her voice did not waver. "That gown was my property. I purchased the fabric with my own wages." Her mother, Dorothea Blackwood, tucked the coins into her reticule with the practiced calm of someone who had done this before. "You live under my roof, Cecily. Everything under my roof belongs to me." "That is not how property law works," Cecily said. "Section 12 of the Married Women's Property Act extends to—" "You are not married." Dorothea snapped the reticule shut. "That is rather the problem, isn't it?" The dressmaker, Mrs. Fairchild, had already folded the gown into brown paper. She would not meet Cecily's eyes. The shop smelled of cedar and betrayal. "The Thornfield Ball is the one event where Mr. Hargrove and the conservatory board will be present together," Cecily said. She counted silently. 3 buttons on her mother's sleeve. 7 pins in the pincushion. 1 chance left. 3, 7, 1, she said under her breath, the way she always did when the numbers threatened to overwhelm her. "Then you should have thought of that before you refused Mr. Pemberton's proposal," Dorothea said. She adjusted her gloves. "A perfectly suitable man, respectable income. And you told him, what was it, that you would rather tune pianos for strangers than tune your opinions for a husband." "I said that, yes." Cecily lifted her chin. "And I meant every syllable." Dorothea walked toward the door. "Then attend your ball in your chemise, if you like. I have done what any sensible mother would do." The bell above the door chimed as Dorothea left. Cecily stood alone in the shop, surrounded by silk and taffeta that belonged to other women. Her reflection stared back from the long mirror. Brown hair pinned too tightly, gray dress washed one too many times, eyes the color of creek water after rain. She counted the spools of thread on the shelf. 14. She said the number aloud. 14. It steadied her. It always had. The shop door opened again. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of wet stone and something else. Something older, like the pages of a book left open in moonlight. "Mrs. Fairchild," said the man in the doorway. His voice was low, deliberate, as if each word had been considered for a very long time before being spent. "I require a gown for tomorrow evening." Cecily turned and stopped. She knew that face. 6 years had not touched it. The same pale angles, the same dark hair swept back from a high forehead, the same gray eyes that held too much patience for a man who appeared no older than 35. Lord Aldrich Vane, the man who had danced with her once in Bath and then vanished like smoke from a blown candle. "You," she said. "Miss Blackwood." He inclined his head. If he was surprised to see her, his expression concealed it the way a lake conceals its depth. "I thought you had died," she said flatly, "or moved to the continent, or both." "Neither." He stepped fully into the shop. "Though I understand how one might confuse the two." Mrs. Fairchild straightened behind her counter, sensing money. "My lord, a gown for which occasion?" "The Thornfield Ball." His gaze had not left Cecily. "A gown in emerald silk, with pearl buttons, if you have them." Cecily's teeth pressed against the words. "I do not need your charity, Lord Vane." "I was not offering you charity, Miss Blackwood. I was placing an order with a dressmaker." He paused. Though if you happen to know someone who requires a gown by tomorrow, I would not object to the coincidence. 12 pearl buttons on the counter, Cicely said, counting without meaning to. 12. And I am not a coincidence. No, he said quietly. You never were. She held his gaze for 3 full seconds. The shop clock ticked between them like a heartbeat that belonged to neither. I will not wear a gown purchased by a man I barely know, she said. Society would eat me alive. Then consider it a loan, he said. Return the morning after. I have no use for emerald silk. Mrs. Fairchild was already pulling bolts of fabric from the back shelves. The emerald caught the gaslight and threw green shadows across the ceiling. Cecily looked at the brown paper package on the counter. Her own gown, sold. She thought of Mr. Hargrove, the conservatory board, the position that would pay enough to leave her mother's house forever. 22 steps from the counter to the door. She counted them. 22, she said then. If it does not fit, I am blaming you. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, the memory of one. Get ready, and he said, the ball is tomorrow. She left the shop without thanking him. The rain had stopped. The pavement gleamed like something polished by regret. The following evening, a box arrived at the Blackwood residence on Lenox Crescent. Inside, nested in tissue paper, the color of cream, lay a gown of emerald silk so fine it whispered when Cecily lifted it. Pearl buttons ran down the back. She counted them twice. 18. The number settled her nerves the way a chord resolves a melody. Dorothea appeared in the doorway of Cecily's room. Where did that come from? A benefactor, Cecily said, stepping into the gown. It fit as if it had been cut from her shadow. What benefactor? No one benefits us, Cecily. We are not the sort of people who receive gifts. Perhaps you are not. Cecily fastened the button she could reach. I seem to be precisely that sort. Dorothea's eyes narrowed. If you embarrass this family at the Thornfield ball, if you draw the wrong kind of attention, you sold my gown for 4 sovereigns, Cecily said, meeting her mother's reflections in the glass. You forfeited your right to opinions about my evening. 5 hairpins. 5. She pressed the last pin into place. The Thornfield ball occupied the grand hall of Thornfield House on the edge of Hampstead Heath. 300 candles burned in the chandeliers. The string quartet played Strauss, and the room smelled of hothouse roses and ambition. Cecily arrived alone. She felt the eyes before she heard the murmurs. The emerald gown drew attention the way a match draws darkness. She kept her shoulders straight and counted the windows along the east wall. 9. Mr. Hargrove stood near the refreshment table, speaking with 2 members of the conservatory board. Cecily moved toward them. This was her purpose. 1 conversation, 1 demonstration of competence, 1 chance. She was 10 steps away when a voice cut across the room like a blade through ribbon. What a charming performance. Mr. Gerald Pemberton appeared at her elbow, smiling the way foxes smile at rabbits. He was tall, fair-haired, immaculate in black evening dress. The man she had refused 6 months ago. The man whose pride had never recovered. Mr. Pemberton, Cecily said, I was not aware you were invited. My uncle sits on the conservatory board. His smile widened. Did you not know? Mr. Hargrove is his particular friend. Small world, the world of musical patronage. Cecily felt the floor shift beneath her, though nothing moved. How convenient for you. I understand you are liking a teaching position, Pemberton said, loud enough for the nearby guests to hear. How brave, a woman of your circumstances offering to instruct others in refinement. He looked at her gown. Lovely dress, by the way. Borrowed, I assume.
3 couples nearby turned their heads. Cecily counted them. 3 pairs of eavesdroppers, she said. 6 ears. And no, Mr. Pemberton, the gown is not borrowed. It is an investment in my future. Unlike your uncle's opinion, which I suspect depreciates daily. Someone stifled a laugh behind a fan. Pemberton's smile thinned to a wire. You always did have a sharp tongue, he said. I wonder if the board finds that quality appealing in an instructor. I wonder if they find vindictive suitors appealing as nephews, Cecily said. But we each have our burdens. Pemberton leaned closer. His cologne was too strong, all musk and ownership. I have already spoken to my uncle. Your application will be denied. No position, no income, no escape from your mother's house. The words landed like stones in still water. Cecily felt the ripples but kept her face still. You would sabotage my livelihood because I declined to marry you, she said. I would protect the conservatory from unsuitable candidates, Pemberton said. It is merely a coincidence that you happen to be one. He walked away toward the refreshment table, where his uncle stood with Mr. Hargrove. Cecily watched him go. Her hands trembled at her sides, but her spine did not bend. 11 candles in that chandelier are burning unevenly, she said to no one. 11. 13, actually. The voice came from behind her, low and precise. Lord Aldrich Vane stood 2 paces away, dressed in black that seemed to absorb the candlelight rather than reflect it. The 2 nearest the east wall are also listening. Cecily turned sharply. Were you listening to that entire conversation? I arrived at the word borrowed. I stayed for the word burden. He held a glass of champagne he showed no interest in drinking. The man is a coward. Cowards prefer institutional weapons because they lack personal ones. I do not require commentary on my adversaries, Lord Vane. No, he agreed. You handled him rather thoroughly. I was merely counting candles. Across the room, Pemberton was whispering to his uncle. The uncle, a stout man with silver side whiskers, glanced toward Cecily and frowned. He means to ruin me, Cecily said. Not to Vane, to the air, to the 13 uneven candles. Yes, Vane said. He does. And you appeared at the dressmaker's shop yesterday by coincidence. No. She looked at him. His skin was too pale for a man who claimed English country living. His hands were too still. He had not touched the champagne. Why are you here, Lord Vane? The truth, not the version wrapped in silk and pearl buttons. Because 6 years ago, you laughed at me in Bath, and it was the most honest sound I had heard in a very long time. He set the untouched glass on a passing tray. And because Mr. Pemberton's uncle, Alderman Croft, owes a debt to an estate I administer, a debt he would prefer to keep private. You are offering me leverage. I am offering you information. What you do with it is your concern. A waltz began. The room shifted around them like water finding a new channel. Cecily studied his face, the impossible stillness of it, the eyes that held 6 years of absence without a single line of aging. You have not changed, she said. Not at all. That is not normal. No, he said. It is not. Before she could press further, Pemberton returned. He was not alone. Alderman Croft walked beside him, and behind them came Mr. Hargrove himself, a thin man with wire spectacles and the expression of someone who had been told unpleasant news. Miss Blackwood, Hargrove said. His tone was apologetic but final. I regret to inform you that your application for the instructorship has been withdrawn from consideration. On what grounds? Cecily asked. Croft spoke before Hargrove could answer. On grounds of character. We have received information that your household is in significant debt, and that your personal conduct— My personal conduct is exemplary, Cecily said. 7 letters of recommendation are in my file. 7. And that you have accepted expensive gifts from an unmarried gentleman, Croft continued, looking pointedly at the emerald gown, which raises questions about the nature of such generosity. The room had gone quiet. Guests nearby stopped dancing. Cecily felt the weight of every gaze like a hand pressing on her chest. The gift in question is a gown, Cecily said, not a scandal. There are 42 people in this room who can confirm I am wearing clothing and nothing more. Pemberton smiled. He had won, and he wanted her to see him winning. Perhaps, Vane said, stepping forward, the board should also consider that Alderman Croft's estate carries an outstanding debt of £400 to the Vane Trust, secured against his Hampstead property, a debt which became callable last quarter. Croft's face drained of color. That is a private matter. Then perhaps character assessments should also remain private, Vane said, rather than being deployed at balls to punish women who declined your nephew's proposal. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the string quartet paused between movements. Cecily looked at Vane. He had done what she could not. He had the financial weapon she lacked. But the way Pemberton and Croft were looking at her now, with the shared fury of men who had been outmaneuvered, told her something else. This was not over. It had merely changed shape. "You should not have done that," she told Vane as they moved away from the circle of stairs. "Probably not. I do not want to owe you anything." "Then don't." His voice was even. "Owe yourself instead." She wanted to argue. She wanted to count something. The tiles on the floor, the feathers in Lady Ashmore's headpiece. Instead, she walked to the terrace doors and pushed them open. The cold air hit her like honesty. Vane did not follow her. When she looked back through the glass, he was standing exactly where she had left him, watching her the way old houses watch the weather. Patient, unyielding, full of rooms she had not yet seen. 2 days after the ball, Cecily received a letter at Lennox Crescent. It bore the seal of the London Conservatory of Musical Arts. Her application had been formally rejected on grounds of insufficient character references. Attached was a note from Alderman Croft's office, stating that any future applications would be subject to review by a newly formed conduct committee, chaired by Gerald Pemberton. Cecily read the letter twice. She counted the words in the rejection. 47. Then she folded it into thirds, the way her grandmother used to fold sheet music before a storm. She went to Vane's address, a townhouse on Welbeck Street that she had found through the registry office. The house was tall, narrow, and impossibly quiet for central London. No servants answered the door. Vane himself appeared, coatless, his shirt sleeves rolled to the elbow. "They rejected me," she said, holding up the letter, "and Pemberton has installed himself as gatekeeper. I cannot apply again without his approval." Vane stepped aside to let her in. The interior was dim, heavy curtains blocked every window. The air smelled of old paper and something metallic she could not place. 23 books on that shelf," she said, glancing at the nearest wall. 23. Why are all your curtains closed?" "I prefer the dark." He took the letter from her hand and read it. His knuckles whitened on the page. "This is not a rejection. It is a blockade." "Yes. And you made it worse at the ball. Croft is angry, and angry men with institutional power are more dangerous than petty ones." "You are right," he said. "I overstepped." She had not expected him to agree so readily. It disarmed her, which annoyed her further. "I need to find another way to the board," she said. "Without Croft, without Pemberton, without you buying my problems away." "There is a way." Vane set the letter down on a desk already crowded with papers. "Lady Thornfield herself is a patroness of the conservatory. She outranks Croft. If she endorses your application directly, the conduct committee becomes irrelevant. Lady Thornfield does not know me." "She knows me. I can arrange an introduction." He paused. "But she will want to hear you play. She is not sentimental about talent." "Then I will play." Cecily looked at the piano in the corner of the room. A broad wood grand, its surface thick with dust. "Does this instrument work, or is it decorative?" "It works. I have not played it in some time." "How long is some time?" Something crossed his face. Not pain exactly, the memory of pain stored somewhere deep. "Longer than you would believe." Cecily sat at the piano. She lifted the fallboard. The keys were yellowed but true. She played a C major scale, then shifted into the opening bars of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat. The sound filled the dark room like light fills a church. Vane stood very still. She felt his attention like a physical pressure, not threatening, but total. "You have improved since Bath," he said when she finished. 6 years of practice tends to accomplish that." She closed the fallboard. "You have not changed since Bath. Not your face, not your hands, Not the way you stand too still for too long. Miss Blackwood? 11 seconds, she said. You went 11 seconds without blinking just now. I counted. Normal men blink every 4 to 6 seconds. The room was very quiet. Somewhere in the house, a clock struck 3. I am not asking you to explain, she said, standing. I am telling you that I notice, and that whatever you are, Lord Vane, I require you to be honest with me before I accept your help. I will be honest when the time is right. The time is right when I say it is, not when you decide I am ready. She walked toward the door. Arrange the introduction with Lady Thornfield. I will prepare a program. And open your curtains. This house smells like a crypt. She left. Vane remained in the darkened parlor, listening to her footsteps fade down the street. 16 steps to the corner. He counted them too. The introduction was arranged for Thursday afternoon at Thornfield House. Cecily arrived early, carrying her sheet music in a leather case. Lady Thornfield was a formidable woman of 60, with silver hair and the bearing of someone who had outlived her patience for nonsense. Lord Vane speaks highly of you, Lady Thornfield said, leading Cecily to the music room. Though I note he speaks highly of very few things. I suspect his standards are unusual, Cecily said. They are ancient, Lady Thornfield replied, and something in the word made Cecily's skin prickle. Cecily played. She chose Beethoven's Pathétique, second movement, tender, searching, full of the kind of longing that does not beg. Lady Thornfield listened with her eyes closed. When the final note dissolved, Lady Thornfield opened her eyes. You play as if you are arguing with someone who is not in the room. I usually am, Cecily said. Good, I will write to the board personally. Lady Thornfield paused. But you should know, Alderman Croft visited me yesterday. He has filed a formal complaint against Lord Vane with the Treasury Office. Something about an improperly administered trust. He claims Vane is not who he says he is. Cecily's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means Croft is digging into Vane's past, and Lord Vane's past, Miss Blackwood, does not survive scrutiny well. That evening, Cecily went to Welbeck Street again. Vane opened the door before she knocked. His face was drawn, his skin paler than before. The curtains were open. She noted this, but the last daylight through the western windows made him flinch. Croft is investigating you, she said. I know. He will find something, won't he? Vane did not answer immediately. He moved away from the window. His hand gripped the back of a chair, and she saw his fingers dent the wood. Not press it, dent it, as if the chair were made of clay. 14, Cecily said, counting the impressions his fingers left. 14. That is not possible for human hands. No, he said. It is not. Tell me. He turned to face her. In the fading light, his eyes caught the sunset and threw it back. Not reflected, but held, burning inside like twin lamps. I am a vampire, Miss Blackwood. He said it flatly, the way one might say, I am left-handed, or I dislike oysters, as if the truth had been waiting so long to be spoken that it had worn itself smooth. She did not scream. She did not step back. She counted the books again, 23. She counted the windows, 4. She counted the beats of her own heart, rapid but steady. How old are you? She asked. 412 years. That explains the piano dust. She sat down in the nearest chair. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was not. And the not blinking, and the not aging, and the curtains. Yes. Are you dangerous? I have not harmed a human being in over 2 centuries. I sustain myself differently. He remained by the chair, making no move toward her. I would not have told you now, but Croft's investigation will uncover records, property deeds, trust documents, that show the Vane estate has been administered by the same man for over 100 years. The same signature, the same face in every portrait. Then you are exposed. Yes, and if I am exposed, your association with me destroys your reputation entirely. Pemberton wins, Croft wins, everything. Cecily stood. Her mind was racing, but her counting steadied it. 6 portraits in this hallway. 6. And all of them look like you. They are me. She walked to the hallway and studied the paintings. The same gray eyes across centuries. The same stillness. In one portrait, dated 1743, he wore a musician's coat. His hands rested on a harpsichord. "You played," she said, "once, a long time ago." He appeared behind her in the hallway, not walking, just appearing, faster than sight could follow. She startled but did not retreat. "Do not do that," she said sharply. "Use the floor like a normal person, or whatever you are." Noted, she turned to face him. They stood close in the narrow hallway, close enough that she could feel the absence of warmth from his skin. Not cold exactly, but the temperature of stone and shade. "I need your help," he said. The words seemed to cost him something. "I cannot counter Croft's investigation alone. The documents he has requested from the Treasury will arrive within a week. If they are not intercepted or recontextualized, I will be exposed, and the consequences will extend to anyone associated with me." "You are asking me for help," Cecily said. "You, the 400-year-old vampire king of property trusts." "I am not a king." "The portraits suggest otherwise." She gestured at the wall. "That one has a crown. It was ceremonial. 8 rubies in that crown. 8. She was quiet for a moment. Then, "What do you need from me?" "I need someone who understands institutions. Someone who knows how conservatory boards work, how aldermen think, how documents flow through offices. I am old, Miss Blackwood, but I am not bureaucratic." "And I am. You quoted property law at your mother in a dressmaker's shop. Yes, you are." She almost smiled. "Almost. I will help you, not because of the gown, not because of Bath, because Pemberton and Croft are using the same system against both of us, and I refuse to lose to men who weaponize paperwork." "Thank you. Do not thank me yet. I have conditions." "Name them." "First, open the curtains during the day, even if it hurts. I will not conspire in darkness. Second, answer every question I ask honestly, without deciding I am not ready." She held his gaze. "Third, when this is over, you tell me why you really came to that dressmaker's shop, the real reason, not the poetic one." "Agreed," he said. They worked through the night. Cecily reviewed Vane's trust documents, a labyrinth of nested legal entities that obscured his continuous ownership. The weakness was in the signatures. Each generation's Lord Vane had signed with the same distinctive leftward slant. "Croft's investigator will compare these," Cecily said, spreading the documents on the desk. "You need new signatures for the recent decades, backdated, on period-appropriate paper." "Forgery?" "Reinterpretation. The trust documents name a succession of Lord Vanes. We create a genealogical record that supports it. 3 generations, each inheriting. I know a clerk at the Somerset House Records Office who owes me a favor." She paused. 29 documents. 29. Vane watched her work. The admiration on his face was undisguised. By Friday, Pemberton had escalated again. A letter arrived at Lennox Crescent, not for Cecily, but for Dorothea. It informed Mrs. Blackwood that her daughter's association with Lord Vane had been noted by the Hampstead Ladies' Moral Society. That continued association would result in the family's exclusion from all parish activities. Dorothea appeared in Cecily's doorway, letter in hand, shaking. "What have you done?" Dorothea said. "Nothing improper. 7 meetings in public settings. 7. "The letter says otherwise. It says you were seen entering his home alone, at night." Cecily's throat tightened. Pemberton had been watching her, following her. "That is surveillance, Mother, not morality. I don't care what it is. You will cease all contact with Lord Vane, or I will write to your late father's solicitor and have your inheritance trust frozen." The inheritance trust. £300, the only money Cecily could claim independently. Enough for 6 months of independence, enough to survive while she built a career. You would impoverish me twice? Cecily said. Once with the gown and once with the trust? I would protect this family. You would protect your reputation. Those are different things. Dorothea left the letter on the table and walked out. Cecily picked it up. At the bottom, in small print, was the name of the Society's corresponding secretary, Gerald Pemberton. She counted the words in his name. 16 letters. She said the number. It did not help. That evening, at Welbeck Street, she told Vane everything. The Moral Society letter, the inheritance threat, the surveillance. He is tightening the noose, Vane said. I should leave London, remove myself as the focal point of his campaign. No. Cecily's voice was fierce. If you leave, he wins twice. He drives you away and he buries me. We face this together, at the Thornfield Charity Recital next Tuesday. The recital? Lady Thornfield's annual event. The entire conservatory board attends. Croft, Pemberton, Hargrove, everyone. Cecily laid out her plan. Lady Thornfield has agreed to let me perform. If I play well, she will endorse me publicly, but that only works if Croft's investigation is neutralized first. The genealogical records? Filed with Somerset House yesterday. They will hold up under initial scrutiny. She met his eyes. But I need you to do something you will not want to do. What? Appear in daylight, at the recital. The recital is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If Croft's argument is that you are not natural, that your records are fabricated, then the simplest counterproof is you, standing in sunlight, looking entirely human. Vane was silent. She could see what the request cost him. Sunlight would not destroy him, she had learned, but it weakened him profoundly, drained his strength, made his senses dull, left him vulnerable. It will hurt, he said. Yes. She did not look away. 3 hours of discomfort against 400 years of hiding. You are asking me to trust you with my survival. I am. The way you asked me to trust you with my reputation. The clock struck 9. 9. She said the number. He nodded once. Tuesday arrived wrapped in thin autumn sunlight. Thornfield House blazed with it. The recital room had floor-to-ceiling windows, and the afternoon light fell in golden columns across the parquet floor. Cecily entered carrying her music. She wore the emerald gown, cleaned, pressed, returned to her by Mrs. Fairchild after Vane paid. She had considered refusing it again. She had worn it anyway. Some battles require armor. The room held 60 guests. Lady Thornfield sat in the front row. Alderman Croft and his wife occupied the second row. Gerald Pemberton stood near the back, arms folded. And Lord Aldrich Vane walked through the door at 2:15 into full sunlight. Cecily watched him from the piano. She saw the flinch he concealed, the way his hand found the doorframe and gripped it. His skin looked almost translucent in the light, but he was upright, present, human enough. She counted 20 steps as he crossed to a seat near the window. 20. The bravest 20 steps she had ever witnessed. The recital began. 3 performers played before Cecily, a soprano, a cellist, a young man on violin. Each was competent. None was remarkable. Then Cecily took the piano. She played Chopin's Ballade No. 1 in G minor. The piece that begins in stillness and builds to something uncontainable. Her fingers found the keys, the way arguments find their conclusions, inevitably, precisely, with mounting force. The room dissolved. There was only the music and the light, and the man by the window who was enduring both. When she finished, the silence lasted 4 seconds. Then Lady Thornfield stood. Then the room stood with her. Applause broke like a wave. Cecily did not smile. She looked at Pemberton. He was not clapping. Lady Thornfield stepped forward. Before we continue, I wish to make an announcement. I have reviewed Miss Blackwood's application to the conservatory personally. I find her qualifications extraordinary and her character beyond reproach. She turned to Croft. Alderman, I understand there has been some irregularity in the review process. A conduct committee chaired by a man who proposed marriage to the applicant and was refused. This strikes me as a conflict of interest, wouldn't you say? Croft's face reddened. My lady, the committee was formed in accordance with— I have here, Cecily said, stepping forward from the piano, a copy of the conservatory's founding charter. Article 9, Section 3. No review committee may be chaired by any person with a personal relationship to the applicant. Mr. Pemberton proposed marriage to me on the 14th of May. His appointment to the committee on the 12th of September is therefore void. She held up the document. Her hand was steady. 47 words in the rejection letter. 47. But only one word matters. Void. Lady Thornfield turned to Pemberton. Mr. Pemberton, do you contest this? Pemberton's jaw worked. The room watched him. 60 pairs of eyes. Cecily counted them. The application was properly reviewed, he began. It was improperly obstructed, said a voice from the second row, Mrs. Hargrove, the board secretary's wife. I saw the original file, Mr. Pemberton. 7 letters of recommendation. You removed 3 before the committee met. The murmurs became a tide. Pemberton looked at Croft for support, but Croft was staring at his own hands. Alderman Croft, Lady Thornfield said pleasantly, I understand you have also been investigating Lord Vane's estate records. The Treasury Office informs me you requested a full audit, yet Lord Vane's genealogical records at Somerset House are complete and verified. 3 generations of Vanes, each inheriting in proper succession. Croft said nothing. Unless you have evidence of fraud, Lady Thornfield continued, I suggest you withdraw the investigation before it draws attention to your own outstanding debts. Cecily watched Pemberton's face crumble, not dramatically, not like a building falling, like paper left in rain, slowly, irreversibly. He turned and walked out of the recital room without speaking. Croft followed 30 seconds later, his wife's hand on his arm like a leash. Mr. Hargrove approached Cecily. He extended his hand. Miss Blackwood, the position is yours, if you still want it. I do, she said. Thank you. She shook his hand. Then she turned toward the window where Vane still sat. The sunlight had shifted, and shadows now reached his chair like old friends. He looked exhausted, drained in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. But he was looking at her the way he had looked at her in Bath, 6 years ago, as if her laughter had given him something he had been missing for centuries. She crossed the room. She sat beside him. Their shoulders did not touch. You survived 3 hours of daylight, she said. You survived Gerald Pemberton. I think yours was harder. 12 seats between us and the door, she said. 12. I counted them during the Chopin. Why? Because I was thinking about how far you walked into the light for me, and I wanted to know the exact distance I would walk to reach you. He turned his head. Their eyes met. In the fading afternoon light, his looked almost human, almost warm, almost mortal. The real reason I came to the dressmaker's shop, he said quietly. You asked me to tell you when this was over. I did. I heard your voice through the glass. I was walking past. I had been walking past that street every evening for 2 years because it was the route closest to Lennox Crescent, and sometimes, not often but sometimes, I could hear you playing piano through the walls. Cecily's voice thinned to wire. 2 years? I told you. I am not brave about daylight. I am not brave about very much. He paused. But I heard you tell your mother that the gown was your property, and your voice was so certain, so entirely unwilling to be diminished, that I walked into the shop before I could talk myself out of it. That is not a poetic reason, she said. That is a specific one. Yes. She did not take his hand. Not yet. But she moved her shoulder until it pressed against his, the warmth of her against the cool stillness of him. Two different temperatures, finding equilibrium. I have one more condition, she said. Name it. Learn to play again. The Broadwood at your house is wasted on dust. I have not played in 90 years. Then you are overdue. She stood. She offered him her hand, not for romance, not for ceremony, but to help him stand, because the sunlight had taken something from him and she was giving it back. Come on. I will teach you. He took her hand. His fingers were cool and steady around hers. They left Thornfield House together through the front door, into the last warm light of the autumn afternoon. 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday evening, Cecily sat in the parlor at Welbeck Street while Vane played the Broadwood for the first time in nearly a century. The curtains were half open, a compromise they had negotiated like a treaty. He played Schumann's Träumerei, slowly, with the careful attention of someone relearning a language they had once dreamed in. He missed a note in the seventh bar. He stopped. Keep going, Cecily said from the armchair. She had her feet tucked beneath her and a cup of tea balanced on the armrest. You are only 43 notes in. 43. You are counting my mistakes? I am counting everything. I always am. She lifted the teacup. Play it again. From the beginning. And this time, breathe. I don't need to breathe. Do it anyway. It helps the phrasing. He played it again. This time, no missed notes. The music filled the half-lit room like something living, not a ghost of what he had been, but the first breath of what he was becoming. When the last chord faded, Cecily set down her tea. Better, she said. Tomorrow we start on the Chopin. He closed the fallboard gently. On its surface, in the lamplight, she could see where the dust had been, and where his hands had cleared it away, leaving two bright paths across the wood like roads that had finally remembered where they led.